Good evening. My name is Stephen Hines. I'm the chairman of HARB, Historical Architectural Review Board for Lower Makefield Township. It is 6 o'clock on June 11th, 2024, and I'd like to call to order the meeting of HARB and address our agenda, which includes the approval of the minutes from last month as well as the one from December of last year. I hope our guests will allow us to proceed with that first, and it shouldn't be a big deal. Hopefully everybody has a chance to have read the December minutes.
Do you have a date for the December minutes? The date?
The date of, December
12th.
Okay.
Okay.
I'd like to make a motion to accept the minutes from December 12th, 2023.
You have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, there are a number of minimal issues in the actual documentation quite a few run-together words, but I hope that can be overlooked in terms of the actual content. So unless there's other more pertinent points, I'd like to ask for vote of approval. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All against? Okay. So that meeting has, the minutes have been approved. The next is the meeting of May 14th, 1924. And I ask if we can have a motion for that. Everybody's had a chance to read that one, I hope.
I have not.
Oh,
I didn't attend, so I'm not going to make a motion.
okay,
Same with me, Steve.
okay,
Guess I make a motion to,
okay. You want to second that, Ben?
I'll second that,
Thank
Steve.
you, thank you. So, all in favor of that meeting, approval of those minutes? Aye. Okay, that unanimously approved. And we can move along to tonight's Flowers Field additional lighting proposal. And we have a slideshow.
good evening. My name is Gary Smotrich. You heard from me last month. I live at 1823 Windflower Lane. It's a pleasure meeting everyone in person, and thank you for having us. So we talked about the lighting project last month, but we have a few more specifics that you requested for this meeting. And again, I appreciate the in-person aspect of this. Let's see. Okay. Okay, so this is a sign within the Edgewood Village Historic District. It's for the Cigar Barn, which closes at 8 p.m. Presumably, after 8 p.m., when the sun is set, no one is looking for the Cigar Barn. And if they were looking for it, they probably couldn't find it by virtue of the sign. You see at the bottom, there are a couple solar-powered lights. So while the sun is up or until 8 p.m., people can find the Cigar Barn, but after that, the business is closed and no one needs to find it. Now, that's in contrast to us across the street. This is the sign that we were dealt when we moved in. It was actually at an adjacent island, but in anticipation of lighting the sign, we moved it to this other island where there's a nearby lamppost for 220-volt power. Something I mentioned last month, it's not just people, coming for a Thanksgiving visit during the day. Ambulances have to find our place at night, and right now it's virtually impossible because the sign is dark and it's not the easiest thing to find. GPS notwithstanding, the people who designed our place, they put in some elements that are certainly unique. On the left is us with these 3 lanes, which makes little sense. I mean, the islands have been obstructions that people have hit. And on the left island, you can see the stop sign, and on the right island is where you can see the lamppost and the existing sign. And it's just not clear at all. And that's in contrast to our neighbors at Artis, where you have this broad entrance that makes a lot of sense with the lane markings. And the thing that clearly makes sense with respect to why we're here tonight is a sign that is planted on the ground with lights in the ground as well. So the sign is well lit. So as I said last month, we feel this is an issue of public safety. It's nice for friends and relatives to know where we're located if they have to come find us at night or after sunset in the winter. But it's ambulances and other such vehicles. GPS I don't think is sufficient. And I think the lights have to be on all night long to let people know where we are. More importantly, the declaration that established our community some years ago talked about 2 illuminated entrance signs. The fact that the board, of which I'm the secretary, we have to maintain and we're obligated to repair 2 illuminated entrance signs. And again, I stress the word illuminated. As you know, there are other entities within the historic district that have lit signs. But this is the most important thing. I feel that the developer intended to light the signs, but he never completed the project. This is that other island where the stop sign is. This is a conduit where the wiring was just never completed to light the signs. Now, I'm not going to editorialize, but I will. There are a number of other issues within our community that were promised that were never brought to fruition, and the lighting being just one of them. So we're back to this sign here. And one of the issues, one of the constraints that I think the question of a number of you at last month's meeting is why can't we put the lights in the ground? Well, not only is it something that can be whacked by a snowplow or other vehicles, the island is simply not wide enough to have the light shine on the sign. Again, in contrast to Artis, we have this large sign sitting on the ground. You're able to set the lights back in a safe location so that the sign is properly illuminated. Obviously, in the historic district, you can't have a backlit sign, which makes a lot of sense, but this sign is perfectly reasonable. Ours is not. It's just the way it was designed. It was not designed with a view towards lighting it. So we had to come up with a solution, and we've been dealing with this for 6 months, and the most sensible thing that we thought about was having bullet lights at some level on the signpost that would illuminate the sign. And these are the lights that, in consultation with Keith Busby, that we've decided upon, obviously pending your approval. They're 5 watts, par 20, which means you multiply it by an eighth or thereabouts, and that's the diameter of the light. They're 1,000 lumens. It's a soft white light. It's 2,700 Kelvin. It's 5 inches long, and it's about 2.5 or 3 inches in diameter. And this is the drawing that I did. Again, I'm not a professional architect, but this shows somewhat the arrangement where the lights would be up on the post, and they'd be angled towards the sign. They would not impact traffic at all, either driving into the community or certainly on Stony Hill. And the sign itself would be lit. Now, some of our neighbors might have thought, who's this idiot outside in the rain? That was me. And I basically prototyped what we were going to do using suction cups and power supply from my computer. And this is pretty much what it was going to look like in real life. And this is after the sun was going down. And this is what the lit sign looks like. Nothing more, nothing less, and there'd be one on both sides of the sign. And clearly, traffic is not going to be negatively impacted in terms of this light. And you can see the street light that's going to supply power to our sign lights. Now, this is the other sign that we call this the monument sign. This is on Langhorne Yardley Road. This is a little bit of a challenge also because of its design. Again, it was not, no conduit was placed within the sign itself, so we have to put conduit on the outside. And this is the light we decided on. It's also 2,700 Kelvin, it's 1,950 lumens, 40 watts, and it's 46 inches long. So basically, it would span from just between, well, I'll show you. Basically, it would look like this. The sign itself is about 6 feet long, and this would encompass the central two-thirds of the sign, and the sign would be adequately illuminated. Again, both sides of the sign would be lit, and the conduit, we would paint it a color so no one would see it, and it would snake along the top of that concrete cap, run down along the side of the pillar into the ground, and again, we'd be tunneling under the asphalt to reach the adjacent street light, which is just south of this. And that's our two lights, and those are the specs on the lights, and that's really the end of my presentation. I'm happy to take any questions.
Okay, a couple of housekeeping things. You were notified that we wanted to see some engineering drawings about how that was supposed to be attached?
Well, this is what we did. Our electrician doesn't have the capability, and we, quite honestly, we're a low-budget operation as a HOA, and I'm wondering what additional information on such drawings you'd be interested in that, you know, maybe I could share. I certainly, these are not professionally done drawings, but, you know, we talked about it, and we just don't, you know, we didn't have it, we don't have a professional.
I just wanted to make sure that you did get the notice.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, and we
So
talked about
you
it.
do not have those drawings, then?
No, this
Okay.
is.
Thank you. We can have some comments, any questions, further figure out what exactly is going on here?
You have any questions? Look like you're thinking.
I don't have a question, but, you know, I might have a,
Speak into your microphone, pull your microphone closer to you.
well, what I am thinking is about that particular light, if there would be a possibility of maybe doing something slightly different. Are we really set on that particular light?
Well, I mean, we're set, to the extent we've thought about this for a number of months, this seems to be the optimal solution to light the sign and have it, you know, not be damaged by snowplows. We thought about hanging it from the transverse bar, but that's a little bit unwieldy. So yes, we thought this was the best solution.
So would
We
you
don't
say-
think it's, again, I take you back to my little prototype here. We don't think it's obtrusive. You know, I'll only, I mean, across the street at KinderCare, I happened to notice this driving out one morning at 5 a.m., this light. Now, that's a bright light, and I thought ours was certainly a lot more attractive and less obtrusive. This light, I guess, lights up the entire parking lot. I mean, our lights are intended to simply light the sign, nothing more, nothing less.
Well,
And we-
what I would think is maybe something a little more pleasing aesthetically.
Well, in terms of, I'm certainly open to suggestions, but
I don't, you said something about a transverse bar. If that structurally will be a stronger element, and maybe having something similar to what you have in the other element, just a bar illuminating it from above.
well, then you have conduit running on that that section running across the top. I mean, structure, I just don't think, you know, the way this is, I don't know what the phrase is, you know, for this iron, the way it's twisted. I mean, it's just not amenable to, you know, hanging two lights. It's just going to be, they'll twist.
Well, it would have to be, you know, structurally something strong.
But then we're changing the whole sign. And, you know, we have a limited budget. And, you know, with each passing week and month, we have signs that are, a sign that's not lit. And again, I harken back to what I, you know, mentioned last time. This is an issue of public safety. And, you know, we're not dead set on anything. But, you know, LEDs are obviously the way to go these days. Obviously, there's a lot of incandescence in the neighborhood. And, you know, again, this is not some aesthetic project. This is to light the sign so, you know, public safety vehicles can find it. So it just seems like this is, you know, given all the constraints of the island, I mean, I would have, you know, had a wider island and 2 lanes, but they didn't ask me, they didn't invite my opinion. when they designed this project. And if they had asked me, you know, when, you know, this project was designed, I might have, you know, suggested, like, when I back out of my driveway with my Suburban, I barely, you know, can do this without hitting the fence and back. So we have a lot of design constraints throughout the entire development. This is just one of them, okay? Because they were just limited on space, and the islands are just another design constraint that is suboptimal. And that's the kindest thing I can say. So, I mean, this is the nature of Flowers Field. So,
Can you toggle back to the one that shows the street light?
right.
So right there, my question is, that sign doesn't get enough illumination?
Not at all.
From the street light?
Zero. I don't have a photo at night, none. I mean, the way the light is diffused at that height, the sign is simply not illuminated. I invite you all to drive by at night, and we wouldn't be doing this if the sign were lit. Okay, everyone in the, I mean, when people were driving in, they were, their mouths were agape, like, wow, the sign is lit. You can actually see it. Okay, but that light is useless in terms of lighting the sign.
Jennifer?
So ironic. I've been aiming lights recently for a fine art installation, and you can see here that you've got a hot spot where it's close, and it's going to be difficult to make that a warm illumination across the whole sign because you're at such an acute angle.
Well, again, let me, I was doing this in the rain, you know, with this bubble gum and, you know, string arrangement. So when our electrician does this, it'll be a little bit more elegant. Okay, so this is a suction cup device that holds a phone on a windshield. And there's some electrical tape, and I'm out there with a UPS to power it.
I don't know why we have to change what you just did.
I like it personally.
Yeah, well, the UPS will last.
So the concept is one on each side, correct?
Correct.
Okay. We were thinking about the linear application because it would give you a way to complement the way the sign is designed right now. And I understand that that means you'd have to have somebody design it for you.
Well, we wouldn't have to, no, someone doesn't have to design it for us. It's just the way the sign is built with that this piece coming across here, it's just, it's not practical to fasten two lights to that. And they just don't make linear, the strip lights that are that short. They could, it's not gonna look right. So you're asking, you know, conduit, you know, weatherproof conduit on either side of that knurled bar. I just don't think it's practical.
So the setup that you have to get the lighting like Jennifer's talking about, your electrician's gonna have to have them way out, like
No,
trailer mirrors to shine on that sign properly.
no, it's less than, it's a matter of inches. It's less than a foot to angle it.
Well-
There'll be a junction box on this side of the post.
I guess that's the reason for the engineering drawings, because an engineer would measure the lumens and get them right across the whole sign, provide the proper luminaire fixture, and make sure that the lamp that is there is the proper one, and that when you're driving in, it's not going to bump in your eyes.
It's not going- well-
But so, the reason for the engineering drawings was to have that kind of information considered, so we'd have the light fixture with the least amount of impact on the public, because what we're trying to do, I believe, majority of us, is not to have some kind of impact of artificial lighting, because that's what we've tried to do away with
What do you-
in the entire district.
What are your thoughts on this light? This is blinding.
That's not in the district, I'm sorry. And it's not something that we have under our purview. So unfortunately, we can't address that. What we did try to address in a number of other ones is the same thing. And the idea of having a fixture that does the job with the least amount of impact would have been considered in terms of the proper engineering criterion. So that was the point of asking for that information
Well,
presented.
Right, I mean, so we obviously did not elicit the services of, I wouldn't even know who to turn to, because our electrician certainly hasn't been confronted with this. The lamp that we chose is against 1,000 lumens. They obviously make bullet lights that are 500 or 750 or 850. We could dial it down, but again, we see, I hope my point is coming across, that I think this strikes a reasonable compromise by having something that's not obtrusive, and it's certainly, a driver is not going to be negatively impacted, but I'm going to sound like a broken record here, which I think I already am. This is for ambulances, for public safety vehicles, to find the development. I mean, I don't know how much more strongly I can emphasize this. We wouldn't be here. We wouldn't have spent all this time, this is months now, on this project, had that not been our overarching goal.
Understood. And I all the time see other developments that have no type of lighting on the sign getting into the developments. And I mentioned this at the last meeting, as well as the fact that with the information that you want to get through to the delivery people, to the emergency people, now with GPS, it's almost a done deal. You can put it into your GPS equipment and it'd take you right to the actual
Well, I
house.
respectfully disagree, because I think I pointed out the entrances are confusing to even people who are, live there, and people have driven into the curb. So I respectfully disagree that GPS is the solution to this. And I don't know what developments don't have lights, but that's, not our concern, quite honestly, about other developments.
Can I ask another question about, there was something that you did in your initial screen that had, about a declaration page that was...
Right, the declaration for the development, I can punch it up.
By whom? I'm
Well, the
sorry.
declaration from Troilo and DeLuca. I'll find it if you want to.
Okay, so it was the developer said
Well,
this was going to be provided.
Yeah, if you, well,
Okay,
fine, I can, if you wouldn't want to indulge me, I'll,
Okay.
you've seen enough of my PowerPoint.
But if I may suggest that we can consider the two conditions separately, that the idea of the brick base that has a single fixture on top of it that runs along the whole thing, and there's enough light from that fixture to wash up the sides. Is that what the proposal is?
Yes, the strip lighting would be on that concrete cap on either side of the pedestal fixture.
On either side, you're saying?
Yes.
There's going to be two strip lights?
Right, on
Oh,
either side,
okay.
right.
It wasn't clear, and that was one of the other things I was hoping to get in the engineering drawings, to make sure that we understood.
Well, yes.
How they were going to be attached, where they were going to be, what the actual throw of the light was going to look like. That seems to be reasonable and have less likelihood of having some kind of impact on any kind of driver coming in from either side, and be somewhat low-key, so it's not a big visual impact. So if everybody here is seeing similar kind of an understanding and a reasonable agreement that that might be okay?
So I missed the last meeting. Was the linear light discussed more fully at the last meeting? Was a linear light discussed more fully at the last meeting? So is it aimable? I'm not clear about how that, if it's going to be flat on a strip, is it tipped, or does it have a?
That's,
I can't-
that's what the engineering drawing would have
Watch
told.
is gonna be coming out.
Yeah.
I'm trying to find the declaration.
On the other condition with the bracket type of fixture, it's also on a bracket hanging sign. If there was any way to replace the bracket so that it becomes stiff enough so that you can provide a fixtures of similar kind on either side of that, so that, you know, it's a heavier bar that comes out from the post.
Well, modification of that sign, correct me if I'm wrong, being, you know, the signage itself, being an inherent part of the historic district, would we not then need approval for a new sign?
I think the bracket itself might be such a de minimis condition that you probably, if it's going to have to come to us anyway, again, I think that it might be something that we're easily convinced about.
So you're saying, so if we had the bullet lights, say the mid portion of that transverse member shining down at the sign, you'd be content with that? As opposed to using the sign
If they were a
post?
linear light that shone down across the top and washed the fixture from both sides, I think that it's probably one of the things that we've put up with in the shopping centers and in other conditions. If it could be put into the base, into the mulch at the bottom, that's another condition that might work.
I talked about that.
I know, it would be covered.
The island
The
doesn't want-
amount of snow that we get is.
It's not snow. The,
limited.
I went over this. The island's simply not wide enough.
Okay,
Okay? I mean, we're dealing with design constraints throughout the entire development. I won't beat around the bush. There's compromises throughout the development.
Okay.
Okay? And this is just one of them. They tried to put 48 homes and a 10,000 square foot restaurant and 32 apartments and blah, blah, blah in this tiny space. Okay? It's not working out. And this is just one thing that as a board we're having to contend with. And I didn't approve these plans for the development. This township did.
any other comments, Michael?
I actually think that with the bullet lights, it's less obtrusive because the design of that sign is more historic looking. And I think if you're going to start hanging lights off the top bar, I think it's going to take away from the architecture of it
Good.
personally.
Good.
And the bars on the brick sign, I think, are pretty straightforward and they're not obtrusive, not sticking out in your face. And I don't think this is any different than any other area of the historic district, in my opinion.
And Mr. Kirk makes a good point. The bullet light itself is no larger than the light that's illuminating the cigar bar. They're nearly the same size. And you saw in the photos when the sign was eliminated, you could see on the street the cast of light shining down on the street from the street light, but there was no background light shining on the street from the bullet light that was aimed at the sign.
I'm sorry, can I have your,
Mr. Bob, I left my card for you. And we'd also suggest that it's kind of, arbitrary and capricious to request us to have an engineering drawing of the bullet light. You see what it is. It's not Herculean. It's not this big thing. But just to require that level of evidence, I think is just a little unreasonable.
I'm also going to go on record and say that I'm also the building code official for the township. I oversee our inspections company, all the permits that come in and out of the township. That's not something I would ever request engineered drawings for. To me, you're going to spend more on the drawings than the actual product itself. So, in my personal opinion, I know other members of the board don't think this way, but I would not be asking that of you. Not for minor lighting like this. If you're making structural changes, different story, but not for something like this.
Well, since you took the opportunity to characterize it, my comment as arbitrary and capricious, I would like to respond, if I may.
course.
That the point of doing this was to make it more of a functional consideration of how it's put together and how it works, which is what the engineer actually does and evaluates the drawing. So it really isn't capricious, it's explanatory. And since we seem to be having so many difficulties, so many questions about it, it would have clarified a number of things much more clearly and had it so that it was understandable as a rate of moving along. So, but let's move to a resolution of we'll get to your question in a minute, if we have a motion.
I'd like to make a motion to approve it.
Do we have a second?
Now, that being said, I also wanted to let you know that it will go under scrutiny with our electrical inspectors and myself when the plans do come in.
Okay.
So if there's any other, just to help put some minds at ease about that type of stuff.
It's been moved by Mike Kirk and seconded by Jennifer Stark. So if there's any other points of discussion that you want to add from the members?
I'd just be concerned on that strip light, how much overflow at that height is coming off of those strip lights in the field of drivers going by.
So that's one of the things I addressed last meeting, is that that's something that we look at and with our reviewers with the traffic and as far as safety and things like that go. So if there's something that needs to be adjusted, there'll also be a field inspection. It can be adjusted at that time too. It'll be required to.
Well, we certainly don't want to go through the actual construction of it and then have it say, wow, this is not really working very well, you've got to do something
Well,
different.
That's part of the
Right,
field inspection.
right.
That's why practicality things on paper don't look the same in the field.
Thank
That's
you.
why we have field inspections.
Anything else, Jennifer?
Nope.
Louis?
I would vote for the lighting illuminating in the, between the two bricks. The other one I'm not really comfortable yet.
The bullet lights, the hanging bullet lights?
Yeah, the little more, I'm
Yeah,
not comfortable
yeah.
with that.
I think I have that problem too.
And I think
Yes, sir. You-
aesthetically for
Oh,
the
sorry.
development, which is a beautiful area, you know, the homes, the town, everything is done with such a detail. I know this is a very minuscule thing, really, you know, the 3 inches, but it's sort of, it's not of a quality of that would be a par with that development, with the community.
Can we get the AV person back? I'd like to address that comment. And I've gone off of,
You have a question in the audience here too, Steve?
can we share my PowerPoint again? Yeah. 'cause
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's,
Oh, how do we share my PowerPoint?
They just need to go to the grassy side, but they're not gonna spend that long.
that's what I see. Oh, hot mic, I'm sorry.
Is that, can you pull that up again? I think it was on the Zoom. Oh.
If I may approach,
Yeah, hold on.
Please.
Thank you.
What? It's not that.
Great.
All right, can we pull it up on the screen?
Well, I mean, he could, maybe it would help flip it a little bit,
Yeah.
but, you know, I see that, I mean.
All right, Gary, you wanted to proceed? I'm sorry.
Yeah. Just wanted to, I just want to address your comment. Don't take this the wrong way as far as the beauty of our development. This is in our front yard, okay? We've got concerns with how everything looks. This is one of our neighbors, and this is one of our neighbors. So again, I'll respectfully challenge the comment about the beauty of our neighborhood. I think the townhouses are nice. What we're dealing with between townhomes and Stony Hill Road is problematic, but it's not for me or our board or this board to decide on. Okay, so again, I don't know how more strongly I can suggest that the bullet lights, in my opinion, do not in any way detract from anything as far as the aesthetics of the entrance to our neighborhood. I mean, I'm a plastic surgeon. I deal with aesthetics all the time, not this type of aesthetics, but I know, you know, a decent look of something when I see it. And I just cannot in any way see how these bullet lights negatively impact the appearance of our development. So, I mean, I know you're a professional architect, I am not, but our goal, again, it's aesthetics is secondary, lighting the sign is primary. And I'll agree with Mike that the lights on the bar just aren't going to work. I mean, technically, and just, I think it's going to be more problematic in terms of aesthetics to have some strip lighting on that tiny little bar. And we just don't have the resources to start deconstructing, reconstructing the sign. I mean, the junction box would go on that left side of the signpost. It would be a black conduit that would run to the ground. The light is right there. And, this is just, this delay impacts the safety of our community.
Okay, we had a question from the audience, please. Come forward and speak into the lectern. And you start with your name and address.
My name's Jim Patoka, 1860 Fieldstone. I'm the president of the HOA. Gary is the secretary, and he's making the presentation tonight. So I have no problem with the bullet lights, the strip light on the box sign, the cement sign. I'd like to hear your opinion on each. It's all mostly been on the bullet side, bullet sign. How about on the big sign with the strip lights? Is that an issue?
The big sign?
Show them the bigger sign.
Well, the monument sign.
The monument
The
sign.
linear sign going on the brick. Here,
Oh, that.
yeah.
Yeah. Is that something that's a problem with anybody? No. That's not a
I
problem?
think we're all in agreement that
I
is
asked
reasonable.
about the washout
I
coming
think the
out, so you
strip can be turned.
or you may have
Yeah.
shields
Just
to
that.
put on it.
It depends on how far it is, what kind of shielding, that kind of thing.
Well, it pivots, and you can get these with a shield on it.
Shield,
Great.
pivot, lock it in place.
Certainly reasonable.
That would not be a
You know.
problem.
And that's what we're trying to do. We're
I
trying to make it so that it's not, have some kind of impact, some kind of unexpected consequences. So,
Well, again,
please,
I'm just trying to make sure that sign at this point is not an issue with anybody. So we can proceed possibly with
Wha-
that sign before if we still have to iron out the bullet sign? Is that a possibility?
I think we could probably separate that. I don't think there's any reason to lump them together. If the board wants you to come
Yeah,
back, I mean, depending on what the decisions are made. Sorry, Steve, I didn't mean to jump in on you.
if you can amend your
it's absurd.
Motion.
Motion?
motion, that's
Okay.
it.
I can
Sorry.
do that.
Again, can I harken back to, rather than this motion, I don't know, engineering drawings notwithstanding, I have a degree in engineering. Somehow I wound up in medicine. I think this is the same light that we'd be using in real life, that would be not suction cupped to the post. It would be attached with screws, screws yet to be determined. And I defy anyone on this board to tell me how this light, in this arrangement, angled in this direction, at this sign is negatively impacting traffic on Stony Hill. I just don't get it. Okay?
Could
You
you
know-
change the amendment and go one sign at a time?
Yes, I can amend my
And then we
motion.
can still argue over the bullet sign, or discuss that.
I can do that, yeah. And then maybe have a discussion about maybe a different style, maybe not necessarily a bullet, but not like a bigger sign, but maybe something less obtrusive or,
Yeah, it could be that the luminaire has a different kind of cowling, a different kind of focusing device. And it might do a better job in actually washing the sign. There are holographic type of signs, a type of lights that actually do that kind of thing, project the lighting in a certain way. There's any number of different fixtures that could be addressed by an engineer who has that information available to him from his catalogs.
We were dealing with the owner of the electric company who, that's all he does are signs.
Okay.
And this was his suggestion as well.
He's not an engineer, he's an electrician, a local electrician trying to make a living, and he's going to quit on us, and there aren't a lot of people that do this. I mean, again, I just have to, at the risk of, sounding rude, I just,
1, 2, 3.
I just don't get it. I don't get,
Meeting beginning at 6.
who's this?
That's your introduction.
technical difficulties.
Anyway, see if you can split them and
Well,
have
I'll
two-
hear what they have
we
to
can
say.
have two amendments and pass them both, but at least let's split them and see where that goes.
If the board's in agreement, yeah, I have no problem with that.
So,
Okay.
as amended,
Do you want me to read?
hopefully we're being recorded?
Yeah. yeah.
Okay, so as amended, the motion would be that we approve the strip light sign on top of the brick base, and then we'll deal with the other one separately. So, all in favor?
I'll second the motion.
Oh, okay, second the amendment, fine, I
And
understand,
then, is there any discussion?
fine. Okay, so, all in favor of that proposal?
Aye.
Aye. So unanimously, that would pass. So,
Steve, can I ask one question? Maybe if we get some ideas of maybe certain styles, maybe of that holographic, I can send them on so they can take a look at those to get an idea of maybe specifically what we're talking about? If you have any idea. I'm sorry?
I don't understand with holographic lighting, I know about holograms. I'm just not clear.
Well, that's why I want to maybe get something like a picture or something, or some examples to make it a little bit clearer. That's just my suggestion. We can take it or leave it.
true. There's a number of fixtures that actually have a throw type of capacity to be mounted tight on either side and not be attached with a flexible bar that might lose its elasticity or getting added elasticity given a certain temperature.
It's not gonna
There's a number of things that I find problematic with that bullet, as you're calling a bullet light.
Well, it's not going to be a gooseneck. It's going to be rigid. It's not going to be a gooseneck, I don't know.
Oh, okay, what?
No, gooseneck would not be,
Okay.
the aiming would be off.
I'm sorry, I'm going from this, which is the documentation that was presented, which is why I asked for better documentation. I think if it's given back to an engineer and he came up with a proposal that did what we're, took care of the problems that we're concerned about, I would say, we could do this, let's say, over the phone. A little difficult. We could do it next month, but we could take care of it in a way that would make it move along a lot faster than going back and forth and saying, this is not what we want, and you saying, well, this is all we can give you, which is
Again,
not
this is-
exactly what can be done, I'm sorry. So, and, do you want to address the other fixture with a negative vote or some other alteration to it that's required, and do it in a way that will allow them to move along in the field?
Well, I think there are some fixtures that could be attached flush to the post and be more like a wash of light into the sign.
We're obviously,
What about like a bar style, like the one you have on the bigger sign or the brick sign that could mount on either side be almost more flush and then kind of come out to illuminate the signs on either side.
So you're saying a strip light across the, I'm confused.
So you have your bar light
Yeah.
that's going up on the one side.
Right.
Could you attach those to the post for that sign so that they're almost flush to the post and shine towards the sign itself?
Yeah, have a shield that it will.
Well, a strip light is not going to light the sign. You could have something coming across the top, but again, the mechanics of this bar aren't going to work. And anything, by definition, if you're fixing a light to the signpost, it's got to come out a bit. You know, it's not going to be a gooseneck, it's going to be some fixed, bar, or a couple of bars, that are adjustable.
How tall is the strip light? How tall is the bracket? Like, how far would it be coming
Well, I
out?
thought we were talking about the hanging sign.
I am, but this was my suggestion for that sign, this
Well,
style.
something could be fabricated, but I think it's going to look, it's just not going to look good. I mean, I think it's going to be more, again,
Okay. I'm fresh out of it.
I think the strip lights on that bar are just not going to look right. And so we're dealing with the signpost, which is easy for wiring purposes, with the junction box right there. And, obviously the lights have to be, offset a bit from the post to illuminate the sign.
Mike, do you mean the strip lights on this post?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I was talking about.
That's what we were talking about.
That's not going to work.
I don't know how that's gonna.
Well, that's why I was asking
Me
the
neither.
height.
That's why I was asking for an
So
engineer's evaluation.
so just to be clear, we're bothered by the fact that the bullet light, is it the bullet light itself, or is it the fact that the bullet lights are offset from the signpost? So what is exactly is the issue with the obtrusiveness of these lights? Because I'm really unclear. And going forward, however we have to do this, aside from finding an engineer, and I have no idea who might be, in the market to do drawings of this, magnitude, I just don't understand what the concern is. I mean, I had no, I was unclear at last month's meeting. I'm even more unclear now, because my words about public safety don't seem to resonate with this board.
Can I make a suggestion? On that signpost currently, if that top bar, which is solid, was changed to a tubular bar going across there, you can feed wires through it. You're not revamping the sign, but then you can mount your strip lights shining down on the sides of it. Kind of like what Mike said, but they'd be on the top bar,
So like the reverse of the other sign, instead of being up, it's now
down.
facing down. That makes sense.
So does the revamped sign, and I'll go back to my original question, is that going to require a separate hearing? As far as the materials, the paint?
I believe if we make it with the condition that we vote on the motion with the condition that this is what it does, that you can move along and get it done, I believe, since the major concern was mine, and I expressed it first, let me specifically point to the actual light fixture and the light development from that fixture is a point source. It's a point light in the middle of darkness. Therefore, the eye perceives it in a different way than a strip light, and it would be in a way that would diminish the impact on somebody coming in. If you happen to be in the right car at the right place, at the right height, and coming through the intersection, it might hit you the wrong way, and you spin out and you mess up your car. I'm just, hey, this is my concern. You can't say, no, it's not my concern. What I'm asking you to do is take it to a professional and have them evaluate what can be done given the criteria that we're suggesting here. So,
I don't know what more demonstration is needed. This is one, I didn't waste my time doing a light on the opposite side. I just did one side, okay? The light is shining on the sign. No one coming at me on Stony Hill Road is going to see that light. The light is shining on the sign. This, it just is not, what you're saying, I just have to disagree with. The light does not impact the drivers on Stony Hill Road, okay? I mean, that shows where the light's going. It's going on the sign.
Gary, what about what Jeff said about changing that top bar to like a solid tubular bar?
Sure, we'll take apart the sign and we'll build a new sign.
Well, you're not going to have to do that because the post is going to stay. That's just an accessory to it, so.
We'll work on that.
Do you want to maybe,
We'll make a picture. I don't know that we're gonna get engineering drawings. If we do strip lighting in that bar and down, can that be a done deal?
as long as the material, I would say the material blends with what's there. I personally don't see any problem with that. And everybody seems to be nodding their head, so if we can go that route.
In the meantime, can I put a landscape light, that solar, 2 little landscape lights that shine up for the time being? And
Is
get
it-
some
is it-
temporary lighting on
Is
the
it
side?
temporary?
Yeah.
I would say that'd be okay, temporary. I mean, as long as you get something on the top that blends in with the rest of the sign, you can mount maybe the strip lights, smaller ones.
A foot long instead of, or as
Yeah.
long as the sign, 2
Yeah.
feet long.
We'll work with that.
Okay.
And as long as they're shieldable also, in case it
Yeah.
has
So
to-
can we have a motion then
I'll do it.
specifying that, or do you want to do that, Mike?
To amend it again to,
Well, no, you're making a new motion.
oh, a whole new one.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'll make a motion to pass with the condition that the lamppost style sign, the top bar is changed to a tubular material
Square
to hide the
tubular.
wires, and that the colors match what's existing, and the other sign approved as presented.
Well, the other sign we already took care of.
I just threw it in there for fun.
You, and you.
I don't get to
voted
talk
for it.
very much, I'm married,
And you
so.
voted.
So, to clarify, it's a hollow rectangular tube.
Yes.
It's not round, because we need
Well,
flat
as long as
surface
it blends
to
in
mount.
with what's there,
Right.
as long as it's tubular so they can hide the wires.
So we're gonna get a piece of pipe or conduit and spray paint it black, and then we're gonna slap
Or
some lights
aluminum
on it.
material. There's aluminum material, there's ways to.
Rectangular.
I'm sure your electrician would have some ways of finding materials that could blend in very nicely with that.
Possibility of just one light, because the sign is only an inch or so thick.
Well, I was gonna
Maybe
mention
just
that.
be one light
That's possible too.
that sheds on both sides.
If you get a little bit bigger of a bar and then hang the light, it might be enough to light both sides.
We'll work on it.
So, it's been moved with the condition. Has it been seconded? No. So we need a second?
I'll second it.
Okay. So, any further discussion? Then I call for a vote on the motion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any negative votes, say nay. Okay, we are 100%. That is unanimous approval of the second bar with the conditions. Thank you for your input.
Thank you for your.
Thank you.
for your time.
And when I review this, I'll make sure that I check for
Okay,
that stuff.
thank you. All right, thank you, Gary, John. There is one other item that's not on the agenda that I mentioned in passing last time, that we should probably have a reorganization. I said at the last voting that I would do it for another year because it was current, at that point, on the ad hoc committee, and I wanted to continue in that capacity so that they knew that we were serious about the whole farm concern. So let me open it up. Are there any nominations for chair?
Yes. Ms. Stark. I'm nominated Mrs. Stark.
I was gonna nominate you too, so. You handled those meetings very well when Steve wasn't here, so I think you'd be great at it.
Well, thank you. I've only been doing it for decades.
Right. We-
I think she'd be a great chair, personally.
Okay,
Second that.
fine. Do we have any other nominees?
What's the position?
Vice chair?
It was chair. I'm just saying for
Oh,
the chair. Let's do that first, and then do the secretary then. No others? Okay, all in favor of Jen for the chair?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you, if you'll accept.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Thank you, thank you.
Okay, then, we need a secretary to sign the,
Correct, yeah. If you want, I can do that since I'm already here, working. I don't know if I can nominate myself, but, yeah, somebody else, yeah. I mean, I'm already here, literally, when I prepare them,
Right,
so.
right.
I nominate Mike then.
All right, I'll
All right.
second that.
okay. No others, fine. All in favor of Mike for secretary?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, thank you. So then I will ask for a motion to end the meeting.
I make a motion to adjourn.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Fine.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good night.
Mike, can we just